All right. Welcome to Gen Pop TV episode 6. I'm your host, Sawyer Scott, accompanied by the co host, Richard Flom. Today's guest is Nurse Anesthetist 2023 Hyrox Bronze Medalist, Small World, Small Town Connection, and soon to be wifey, Dr. Belle MacFarlane. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it all.
Okay, cool. So, a bit of background. We are from I think a 10-mile difference in towns from each other. You grew up in where?
Caddo Mills, Texas, very small East Texas town, population about 1,200.
Yeah. And I spent my teenage years in Rockwall, Texas, which is a maybe 2 degrees of separation from each other.
Yeah, that was our big town, was Rockwall. So
Yeah.
it's probably still a 20-minute drive for me, but it was considered my big town.
My wife is from Royce City, so it's an even further degree of like a removal from Dallas proper.
Hmm.
But I'd
Yeah,
only gone through
Royce City
Cattle
is
Mills.
definitely closer.
Yeah, exactly. Um, what brought you to Houston from Cattle Mills?
My college scholarship to Rice University is
Yeah.
what first brought me to Houston. So that was in 2012, and every step of the way I said I was going to leave, and I'm still here.
It pulls you back in like the Godfather.
It really does. It
Yeah.
really does.
I mean, we might even
We,
end up here for residency, not sure for my wife, but yeah.
yeah, we
So
both wound up here in 2012, but for different reasons.
Oh yeah, what brought you here, Richard?
I had been diagnosed with cancer in 1993, something called mantle cell lymphoma, and they'd give me 6 months. Somehow I made it through about 18 years, and then came back, and it turned what they call blastoid. And my doctors at University of Michigan, where I was being treated, said they got nothing, but they had a buddy at MD Anderson. So I wound up in Anderson in 2012, and in 2013 had a stem cell transplant, and just decided that it was better to stick around the hospitals in Houston than to go to places I really liked. And then I started liking Houston.
There you go. Well, I even did some of my nurse anesthesia rotations at MD Anderson, so I am very familiar with that hospital. And same reason I stuck around is all the excellent hospitals around here. We're the largest medical center in the world. So
Yes.
for my job, it is the best place for training and the best place to start a good career.
And for my continued health, it's paid off. I've had to make a few more visits back to him than I had expected, but I was glad that I was here. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you made it past that 6 month mark and are continuing to, beat that mark every day.
yeah, that was 22 years ago. So that's distant past. We've had a couple of other intersections along the way, but
But now you can laugh at that six
well,
month
it's good.
trajectory.
And I'm in really good physical health. So
I see that. I've seen that on the Instagram that Sawyer so kindly shares with the world. You're a
yeah,
superstar.
well, not really, but Sawyer does a good job of trying to promote me.
and it remind me, have you guys met at the Met before? I think that you'd seen each other in passing, but I don't think you had
Probably not
formally met
officially
before.
met. I always have my headphones in and a 1 hour limit. Get in,
Yeah.
get out. But
No, I think the only time I became aware of you at all, Belle, is a couple of my buddies that I work out with on a regular basis. We were at a workout one day, and they said, "Have you seen that blonde woman that goes on the assault bike and just kills it?" And I went, "No, I really haven't." He says, "Well, she's over there right now. You can look at it." And I went, "Wow, that's a hard-working woman."
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think all of you guys are hardworking at the Met.
It attracts a lot of different athletes, whether it's like court or racket people or just regular endurance types. It's a big pull, a big haven for that sort of stuff. And it looks like it's kind of looking up now. Or you guys got a couple of people that are starting to change like the trainer, I guess, methodology there too. So it might even be a bigger thing from there. What got you into uh, doing all that you do in Hyrox and stuff? What's your background for that?
Wow. So my background in sports starts long ago. Actually, when I was 3, I had some like medical condition. I don't even know what they called it, but it was sort of like restless leg syndrome, and I was like crying myself to sleep. And so my mom took me to the doctor, and they basically said my ligaments were too short and I needed to be put in like dance and gymnastics in order to stretch out my ligaments. Because that the shortening of the ligaments was what caused me so much pain when I was a child. So I did dance and gymnastics, and I ended up falling in love with both of them, but they're both expensive sports. So as the youngest of 6 kids in a single mother household, I couldn't do both sports. So I chose gymnastics. I did gymnastics till I was about 14. And then unfortunately, I had an injury that transitioned me into track and field. And so then I did high jump in order to get my scholarship for Rice University. And then after that, it was really just an open world. A post-collegiate world is wide open, and I didn't know what to do. I first started running just because that's what the easiest thing to get into after being a collegiate athlete is let's just go for a run. So I ran for a while, got a little tired of that. And so I had a friend that mentioned obstacle course racing. And that's when kind of the Spartan races were bigger at the time. So we did a Spartan race together and had a
This is
ton
like
of,
the 2010s.
yeah, about
Okay.
2010.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, 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 not 2010, not 2010. That was probably 2018, maybe. So I
Oh,
did
like
Spartan race and I
okay.
really liked it. And then after Spartan race, someone mentioned Hyrox, and I had never heard of it before. But they said, I think you'd be good at it. So I said, let me try my hand next time they're in Houston. And that was in 2023. And
First try was all it took.
first try is all it took for me to see that, there's some competition in it that I really missed, because being a highly competitive gymnast and then being a Division 1 athlete, it's kind of hard to find that level of competition again. And so when I first competed in High Rocks, I found that love for the competition again. And then I barely missed. I think my first time was about 107, which that kind of translates to almost, elite level,
And you went into
but
pro first time, or was this open?
it was the pro level the first
Okay.
time. Um, that 107 mark was like, almost elite level, but not quite. But I knew that it was my first one, so if I just, try to train a little bit harder and more focused, then maybe I can make the elite level. And I did end up making the elite level that first year in 2023.
Oh yeah. And now you tried your hand again after a small reprieve. You got gold in Toronto 2 weeks ago or last weekend, right?
Yeah, yeah. So 2023, I, went to the Worlds for Hyrox, and then after that, I um thought I might try something else. So I did a break from Hyrox, tried out some Ironman, not Ironman, triathlon. I didn't do a full Ironman, but I tried out like an Olympic distance Ironman. I did really like that. I really enjoyed being outside, but just seeing all of the girls that I competed with in High Rocks on social media, still in the sport and still improving in the sport, it really motivated me to try my hand again this year. And so I just competed in Toronto 2 weeks ago, and I placed first. Didn't get a PR, but I got first place in my age group and first place overall for the pro women.
What does the future hold for that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite question, because I think almost every time that I do this race, I told Vivian Tafuto this as well. I said every time I do this race, I say I'm never going to do it again, because it is really tough. It's really painful. And in the moment, at least, it is not enjoyable. And so I finish the race, and I think I'm not going to sign up for another one. Unfortunately, this year I already have signed up for another one. So Anaheim in December is my next race. And if I get a good enough time, then the combination of those two times could qualify me for regionals.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll see.
And so you've got your wedding coming up too.
I
That's another
do.
big one. What's the
Uh,
date for that?
and we're 13 days away, so not this
13
Saturday,
days.
but next Saturday. October 25th is my birthday, but now it's also going to be my wedding day.
Perfect.
Yep.
I've got my best friend's wedding on the 1st of November.
Yes, it is wedding season, so I've been told,
Cuffing season, yeah.
especially in Texas, now that the weather is finally cooling off, everyone's
Yeah.
deciding to get married.
This is a perfect time to pick it. We had ours in June and it was hot, but we at least sheltered ourselves. So it went
Were
out pretty well.
you inside or outside?
We were inside, we were in a chapel, and then we went over to the reception was also indoors. So we were strategic about it. But as far as like being, in the open air, are you gonna do an open air wedding or something?
Yes, ours is open air in Texas Hill Country.
Okay. Are you going to like what part of Hill Country?
It's Comfort, Texas, so it's 45 minutes outside of San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
it's open air, and we've been watching the weather for like the past few weeks, hoping that the highs will come down a little bit more. Because right now, I think the high is about 85, which outside in suits for the men is not very comfortable.
it's very stuffy. I can
Yes.
attest.
Yep.
But
We're
if
getting
you,
there.
huh?
I said we're getting there. The weather's finally dropping.
Yeah. Which I was feeling that way about Stronger Faster too. Now that it's not a complete sweat box anymore.
Oh yeah.
It's nice and fun. I'm not building up as many layers of sweat when I teach, but it's a good place.
Finally getting a good breeze in there.
Yeah, and different parts of Hill Country, it feels like you're in a different country, like Italy or something.
Yeah, that's the vibe we're going for. It's a little bit closer to home, but not as stuffy as Houston.
So what was it like growing up in Caddo Mills as an athlete and a highly competitive athlete at that?
Interesting. It was very interesting. Caddo Mills is a very small school system, at least at the time that I was there.
Yeah.
And so I actually was, even at a young age, I was a very competitive athlete. So I trained um, from even elementary school about 4 hours a day. So it usually meant right after school, I'd go into the gym for 4 hours. And the gym that I was at the time, I needed to be at the gymnastics center like sooner than my school was released. So I actually had to get like special privileges to be released from school early. So they made like PE my last class, but I was allowed special privileges to leave so that I could go train for gymnastics. And that's when I was really young. And then, entering later years of middle school and high school, I actually was focusing more on gymnastics. And so I left the public school system and I went to a private school that is designed for competitive athletes and artists and young children stars. And so even though I lived in Caddo Mills, I commuted about an hour every day so that my training now for gymnastics was 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the evening.
Was it
And so
T-Bar-M?
what was it? TRM?
T-Bar-M or was it somewhere else?
No, what, the school or my
Yeah,
gymnastics?
the
Just
school that you went to.
no, it was Spring Creek Academy. And so it's
Okay.
in Plano. So I only went to school between 12 and 2:30 every day. Um, so it was gymnastics from 8 a.m. to noon, and then school for 2.5 hours, Monday through Thursday, and then gymnastics again in the evening for another 4 hours. So growing up in Caddo Mills, being an elite athlete, I really wasn't in Caddo Mills a lot. And I think that honestly was probably for my benefit. It showed me more of the world and it gave me more goals and drive than what was to be found in a small Texas town at that time, anyway.
And curriculum wise for like the academic side, it was just bare minimum essentials to get you
It
through,
was.
right?
It was. And actually, hilariously, Sean, my fiance, gives me a hard time about that all the time because classes were 30 minutes long. And so it was only the essentials. We had a math class, a science class, an English class, and then whatever like year in school I was in was the other essential classes. So I kind of missed out on Texas history. I missed out on world history a lot. Geography is very slim, and so Sean, who's very astute in all of those subjects, gives me a hard time and likes to quiz me just to see that I don't know the answers to any of those.
You give him a hard time about your medals?
Yeah, I do, exactly.
Just
So
a
I'll
healthy
take
back and forth.
it
Yep.
here. No, no, Sean is he's also a Division I athlete, so he also has a lot of accomplishments as well.
I remember, yeah. Both healthcare, both
Yes,
competitive athletes. And he's a PA. I thought that you were, after I'd talked to you the first time, I thought you said you were both PAs, but you're a CRNA.
I'm a CRNA, which stands for Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist. It is essentially the nurse version of an anesthesiologist. I put people to sleep for surgery, keep them comfortable throughout the surgery, and then wake them up at the end.
And that was I'm going to go on the whole spiel that I think I already shared with you, but I have somebody at Sigma, the main gym I work at, named Michaela Oniski.
Mhm.
And
He is a anesthesia assistant student, correct?
yes. And
Yes.
so, and that was the weird thing was because I thought that because you guys have very similar frames and you're both competitive, or she's an aspiring like high level competitive Hyroxer. And so
Mhm.
I assumed that you guys knew each other from the Hyrox space. And I brought up your name to her one day and and she goes, "Oh yeah, I rotated with her at Baylor." And I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So apparently some sort of connection between endurance athletes and anesthesiology.
Yes, we're a little bit psychotic.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Very type A personalities are what can get you into, that anesthesia realm, but also what gets you into elite training realm. I think we all like our routines and we like perfection in a lot of ways. And in both anesthesia and the elite training, I think you have to be that person in order to achieve that high of a goal. Because anesthesia school, it's extremely grueling. So I apologize to Michaela for what she's going through right now because I went through that and I know that it's really tough to go through rotations and the clinical aspect of being a student in anesthesia while also trying to train as an elite athlete is really tough. And kudos to her for keeping up with her training in the meantime. That's amazing.
Yeah, she's taken it. I mean, she's done pretty hard ever since I met her, but it's when you're working off like 2 or 3 hours of sleep, it's a tough thing. And especially for somebody who also has to work in like strength training and all that stuff, it's a difficult thing to balance. As far as like the academic side, because obviously you went to an Ivy League school, right? Rice is an Ivy League school.
It's
Um,
considered an Ivy League of the South.
yes, yes. I wanted to be sure that I got that right. But even with the bare academic stuff, were you more testing focused?
In school.
Yeah,
So, my academic life is also part of my type A personality is
yeah,
that I like the perfection. I like straight A's. So when I was a little girl, my oldest brother um, told me, and he was not the best in school, so he told me he would take me to Chuck E. Cheese anytime I got straight A's on my report card. So I went to Chuck E. Cheese all the time.
awesome.
I have never made a B in my life. I've only made straight A's. So, um, going to Rice, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome because I think growing up in a small town, especially in Texas, everyone knows Rice is a really like tough academic school. And I was worried that, my string of straight A's was going to go down the toilet as soon as I entered this school with all these geniuses. But I made it my goal to keep up with my academics even more so than my athletics if necessary in order to keep those straight A's that I always had. And so I was on the president's honor roll, which is basically getting straight A's for all of my time at Rice, and I even double majored. So I got a major in sports medicine as well as psychology, and was on President's Honor Roll for both of those as well.
See, intelligence is a great part of that, but the commitment that you have to athleticism is the same commitment that you have to education. So you can't accept anything lower, or you don't go to sleep at night. And
That's right.
that's why a lot of the people I know that have been very successful also take really good care of themselves in terms of their physical health. But it's that commitment that 90% or 95% of the humans walking around, that's the reason they become your patients, because they don't take care of themselves and they don't have straight A's either.
Right. I think you're totally right. I think that is the balance of, being an elite athlete, but also balancing your work life is, you use the same concepts in both aspects of your life. You set a goal and you strive to achieve that goal, whether it be in academics or whether it be in sports. And those tools and that mentality is the same. You have to have the same drive and the determination in order to achieve both of them. So if you
Sure.
can learn to apply them in the different, categories of your life, you can be successful in both of them.
And you don't accept, your mind won't accept less than excellent performance.
Right.
We we are our own worst critics, and that psychosis is what drives you to superior performance.
Exactly.
Getting out there and running a marathon or doing cross country or any other sport like, that involves a lot of time and a lot of steps. Um, After about an hour of it, the physical is gone and the mental takes over.
Hmm.
And without the mental, I think every elite athlete is a different has a different mentality than the average population. I know my son, of my three children, my youngest son was an elite athlete, played lacrosse for Michigan, and hockey. The commitment that he made outside of school to being in shape, I used to sit there and go, how do you do that? And carried straight A's. So, yeah.
What
And I
got you?
think having the sport, you know, enjoying the sport or fitness or whatever your physical activity is, I think having that um, to help you release some of the energy of the stress of academics is also beneficial.
Plus, I find, I mean, if I look at it critically, what drives me to do what I do at my age is I love the competition, not the losing part. I mean,
Yeah, I heard that you had a competition this weekend. Is that true? This past weekend?
yesterday,
Okay, tell us about it.
um, God, I'll let Sawyer tell you from the bird's eye view. I don't like to brag. So.
Right. Uh, anyway, so we walked away with state record in deadlift and powerlifting total.
I
Wow,
no, no. I looked it up now. I've got 12.
Yeah.
you are
And
incredible.
the only reason they weren't official is because there weren't national judges,
Wow.
national level judges. So nationals in May, Corpus Christi. Let's make it
Yeah,
happen. It'll be official.
okay. Okay, we're all looking forward to it. We're gonna cheer you on.
Yeah, so I qualified for nationals. That was the big part of it. And what I find is good about having somebody like Sawyer as a trainer is I'm extremely bullheaded and I tend to overtrain. And, when I get into a competition, when it's not intelligent to, go completely to your maximum and then fail, because then you lose what you're trying to accomplish. He's my grounding. He brings the balloon down. And we fight about it too. So it's interesting.
There's going to be a little bit of healthy argument in coaching athletes, I think. It's like any relationship, a little bit of healthy argument goes a long way.
I
Did you
agree.
have any people that coached you along this, or was it primarily just you pushing
For
yourself
for what?
for Ironman, Hyrox, anything?
Hyrox, no coach.
Yeah.
I kind of just do my own thing. Originally just started out, weightlifting, and then when Hyrox became a thing, I just looked at other people's like programming and got sort of ideas of what would work with my body and how I like to train. So I've never had a coach for Hyrox. Sean, I guess you could say is my running coach just because he ran as an athlete in college. I did track and field, but I was a high jumper, so I didn't actually run and I don't know how to program any running. Sean is my version of Sawyer when it comes to running, and he's the one who pulls me back because I'm like you, Richard, and I will just go run and run and run and overtrain and run way too fast and pull my hamstring and
Yeah,
be out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Sean's the one who says, most 80% of the training's supposed to be, easy training, and then you only push yourself on 20%.
The
So,
volume, the
yeah.
zone two stuff a lot. I see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't, zone two, I guess, is like a relatively new concept compared to when we were athletes in college.
Sure.
So we don't even
Where it's
talk about
zone three
it.
plus sort of stuff.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
I
We
mean, there's a
joke
big
about zone
there's
two,
a big
but
discussion and like rhetoric around the relevance of zone two sometimes, just because like sometimes people get too bored by it to want to do it consistently. I
yeah.
guess that's the thing that I've had to figure out with Richard is that not everything. I'm trying to be a good combination of by the book and fun
Yes,
or
yes.
engaging,
Well, and that's part of it all, right? Like we got to keep having fun with it. When it gets to the point where it's, you know,
tedious.
tedious, it's stressing us out, like we
Yeah.
got to remember why are we doing this in the first place? We started fitness or we started sports because it's enjoyable. So when it becomes to the point where it's not enjoyable anymore, like what's the point of doing it? So,
Well, it all becomes a little stale.
yeah.
That's why, you know, I used to do the same thing. I used to just go out and run, and you know, I did that for a while, and then I had to get involved in 5Ks and marathons because I wanted the competition. It was, and without the competition to drive me, I mean, sometimes I'd be running and go, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun. But the
Right.
competition is fun, and the thought of losing is what drove me to continue to work out. Although Sawyer takes the easy route, I do 4 training days a week with him and one with another trainer that works on agility and flexibility and that kind of thing. For me, I need that. Um, but on the 4 days, 2 of them I train with Sawyer. And those are the fun days for him because those are my heavy days on push and pull. The other 2 days are volume days. And at the top, he says, this will take 90 minutes. And 2.5 hours later, I'm dragging myself out of the last set. But he doesn't have to witness it.
And
Gets
I
a
also,
little bit wrong.
yeah, well, I also, it's fun to see because if I am too like, I guess, unengaging and not intense enough, I'll give him like maybe 3 sets of 10 lat pull down, and he'll modify it towards 6 sets of 10 pull ups or like
Okay.
6 sets of pull ups to failure. So, same thing.
So it's your modification that's making it, the 2.5 hours.
Yeah. But what got you into anesthesiology?
So when I was in college at Rice, I obviously majored in sports medicine and psychology, which are not related to anesthesia, but I thought I wanted to be a trauma surgeon. Um, that rapidly changed because I did a year of research in trauma where I studied blood coagulation. But in that, I saw the life of a trauma surgeon and I saw there's no work-life balance, period. And with me, I needed the balance of having time to do fitness and sport outside of work. I don't want to be that person that's always in the hospital, always operating. So even though I really loved the concept of trauma surgery and the intensity of it, I wanted something that I had a work-life balance so I can enjoy my life outside of the OR. And so when I was waiting to collect a blood sample on a patient, on a trauma patient, I was standing actually behind the drapes with a resident anesthesiologist. And he said, if I had to do it all over again, I'd be a nurse anesthetist. And I said, what's that? I had never heard of it before. And he explained to me it's basically, in his words, he said, it's basically the same thing as an anesthesiologist, except you go to nursing school first, and then you don't have to do medical residency, and you have a better work-life balance. And so I looked into it that night and I basically started applying for nursing school. So I actually have 3 undergraduate degrees because after I graduated from Rice is when I went back to school to get an undergraduate in nursing. And then I did a fast-paced program, so it only took me a year and a half to get my nursing degree. And then I went into the ICU for a year and a half before applying back to CRNA school here in Houston. So once I figured out what I wanted to do, I did both the fastest way to get there possible. And I graduated actually in 2023, which was the same year that I competed in Worlds for Hyrox, because like Richard, who was getting bored with training and just running, I was getting bored during my clinicals for my nurse anesthesia school, and I needed something to drag me to the end of school and like keep up with my fitness. And so having the goal of Worlds for Hyrox is what kept me motivated in my fitness to finish my nurse anesthesia program.
It's a
What a,
familiar sounding story. Worlds is what motivates me to continue to go in and work out every day right now.
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, and any sort of assistant uh, program that I've seen has been such a more viable way of work-life balance or to achieve work-life balance than a lot more of the official things. Like I see PA school is that for a lot of people too. And I follow a lot of people on Instagram who are the same way. I'm trying to think of, there's just one Greek guy that I follow who's pretty uh, well esteemed on Instagram, but he just talks about like the big work-life balance of all that. There's this page Doctoring Differently who does that too. Like there's options out there for healthcare providers.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially if you don't have family members that are in the healthcare field, you don't really understand how many options there are out there for really great ways to be involved in medicine and challenge yourself in medicine, but not have to work the grueling hours of a surgeon or a doctor who's on call constantly. And be able to enjoy your life outside of the hospital a little bit more. And that's not to say that all doctors have terrible schedules. There are some great schedules for doctors as well, but there's now being in the medical field, I know of so many more um, options for careers out there that have a better work-life balance. So if you're someone that's, interested in being in the medical field, but you don't want to work your life away, just do a deep dive into other options.
And you made such a smart decision because um, I've spent a lot of time in the hospital on the other side, with cancer and heart. And, I mean, there's a whole big story with me, but I just had a aortic valve replacement and a pacemaker put in a year and a half ago. So,
Oh, nice. My dad got an aortic valve replacement about 2 years ago too. So did you get
yeah,
the cow or the pig
I did
or
the
the,
TAVR, yeah.
yeah, you did TAVR.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I've during the cancer period, I spent so much time in the hospital, and I saw what nurses had to put up with. And to be a nurse in a hospital, to me would be the last thing that I would want to do. Uh,
Yes.
and if I was going to be a nurse, if I wasn't going to be a doctor, if I was going to be in nursing, I would either be a surgical nurse or I would do anesthesiology. You come
Yeah.
in and you deal with the patient where you're really helping them, and you don't have to sit there and lead them through their suffering, and that's tough. I was always a silent patient, but I used to look around and see what these nurses had to put up with, and it was really
Yeah, in order to be a nurse anesthetist, you have to do usually a minimum of 2 years, but some schools will allow 1 year of ICU nursing. So that's why, you have to get your feet wet in that experience of how tough it is to be a nurse. And I agree with you. I would never go back to being a bedside nurse because
yeah.
it's tough and it's a lot of thankless work. And um being in my role now where I still get to use a lot of my nursing skills, as far as like interviewing the patient and really thinking of their medical history and even doing things like putting IVs in that nurses do as well. I get to do all that, but then I get to take it to a greater level and, really administer more medication and do more of like mentally stimulating things to me rather than the task work of a nurse. And to me, that's a lot more rewarding.
Well, I always admired the anesthesiologist because when I got rolled into the operating room, I'm very talkative, and I would wake up and say, "God, I never finished that sentence," and the surgery would be over. They would just turn the valve on and shut me off,
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And that's another thing too, is it's hilarious half the time when I put these people to sleep because hearing the stuff that people say under medication is quite entertaining sometimes. And then there's always the classic countdown, count backwards from 10 to try to fall asleep and they never make it. But the way that they fight the medicine is so funny.
I've learned better. I know what's going to happen. It's inevitable. So
What do you mean by
Even
they fight the medicine?
oh,
what do you think?
What do you mean by they fight the medicine?
So like, you're putting someone to sleep and they think that they can stay awake regardless of how much medicine you give them. And whenever I give them medicine, like you're gonna fall asleep, but they think, no, I'll make it down to 10 and they never do. But I remember even as a kid when I had surgery, I did the same thing. I was like, I'm not gonna let them put me to sleep. I'm not gonna let them put me to sleep, but the medicine will always win. So
Well, yeah, it's always the point of you've got all these people running around you in a room, the average person, and they're going, now I'm going to be totally at their mercy because you've now put me to sleep.
right.
So,
Me, I had other motivation. I was you want to talk, Holly, that's okay.
oh, it's just
I had other motivation. When I was in the hospital, I was living here alone. So they would put me in for surgery if I had to take anesthesia, then I had to have somebody at the hospital. The old rule was you had to have them at the hospital. They had to sit there and wait for you and then take you out, or they wouldn't
Yeah.
release you.
Hmm.
So whenever I could, I would take local. And I remember they had put an Omaya in my head. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a way that they run chemotherapy right into the ventricle,
Hmm.
through the vein. They put this. It's like a port. But
Right.
they drill through your skull and they put this catheter in and do the whole thing, and it made a lump on the side of my head. And once I started feeling pretty good, I'd look in the mirror and I went to the doctor and I said, unless you're going to put another one on the other side so it matches for Halloween, I want this thing out, right.
Right.
And when I went in, I asked the neurosurgeon, I said, can you do it without anesthesia? Because I want to walk out of here.
Hmm.
And he said, never done it before, but I said, so you don't want to do it? He said, Flam, I will cut you with nothing. I'm a surgeon. He says, so if you want to do this, we'll learn together. And they did it with Novocaine or whatever. And he would put the Novocaine in and then cut. And he said, do you feel that? And we went through that whole procedure. But um,
Yeah, it's fascinating. We do, so I work at Baylor St. Luke's in the medical center, and we do a lot of neurosurgery, for a lot of brain tumors or any like subarachnoid hemorrhages or things like that. And so we do a lot of awake craniotomies. So we'll have patients that are totally awake under their procedure, but they've just used a little bit of local. And so you can see the whole brain and the patient can be awake talking to you. And it's just fascinating. So it's another reason I love my job is that I get to watch people do some really cool surgeries and sometimes have minimal involvement as far as anesthesia goes.
The doctor, my neurosurgeon is McCutcheon. I don't know if he's still there or not, but he was like the head of the department at that time. Um, I got in big trouble with him because I stayed awake through the whole thing. And when they rolled me off the operating table and, were rolling me away, I looked up at his nurse and I said, my God, the only thing I remember are your eyes. They were just absolutely beautiful. It took me through the whole operation. And she turned to him and said, I've been with you for 20 years and you never said that. And he said, Mom, you're in big trouble now.
I have to tell you a really funny story from that then. So, in anesthesia, you're wearing a hat, so you can't
Right,
see
right.
a mask. So all you see are these eyes. And
Yeah.
I have green eyes, so they stand out quite a bit. And when I was a student, I was doing what's called like a block for cardiac surgery. So we were going to do open heart surgery on the guy, but we were basically injecting that numbing medicine that you had. And so, in order to get him just a little bit more comfortable to put that local anesthesia in, we gave him ketamine. And ketamine is, has a bad name because it is also used as a street drug sometimes.
Right.
Ketamine can cause hallucinations. And so we injected this guy with some ketamine, and I was standing in front of him holding his shoulders because sometimes, patients, when they get woozy, they'll fall off the
Yeah,
table. So I was standing in front of him holding his shoulders. So we were pretty close face to face, and all I can see is this on me. And
yeah.
then he goes, "Whoa, your eyes." And I thought he was going to compliment me in front of all of these people in the operating room. So I was like, "What about them?" And he was like, "There's so many of them." So he was hallucinating. And then I had like a million eyeballs, and I was really embarrassed at that
Yeah.
point.
You're
But
part spider.
yeah, exactly.
The only story I have about, well, I think I have two technically. The latest one was I had a really bad ingrown toenail, and so I went to the VA, and it was shocking to me because I think that he like put a bit of a cover between me and my toe, and he just injected it with, I think it was just like liquid lidocaine or something like that. I think that's a thing, right?
Yeah,
And
pretty.
I just hear him. There's this loud, like thick, just snap of the clipper inside of my toe to pull that toe out. I'm
Yeah.
like, Jesus, because I had thought that I'd be able to get that done, like an ingrown toenail, like fixed at like a foot spa. So there were like three or four different occasions where I was like chugging Mai Tais and like gripping the seat as hard as I could while they like dug into my foot, and it never worked. So I finally realized that I could get that done at, the hospital.
That's
But
funny. Was it the VA here in
it was
Houston?
the VA, yeah,
It's
and it
funny.
was
I had
quick.
rotations there too. So you might have actually had a student helping you out that day too.
Maybe,
Unless
yeah.
it was in his office.
It was what?
Was it like in the procedure, like in the operating room, or was it like in the doctor's
It was just in
office?
an office.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have had an anesthesia student.
The other one was when I was like very young. I was like maybe nine, and they, I had just come out of anesthesia because I think they had like removed one of my teeth,
Mhm.
and I was trying to like be supportive to the nurse, so I just kept going, "You're the best. You're the best." And I was like, I thought it was funny because that was the closest I had been to feeling drunk back then. So I'd laugh about that. But anyways, um, what have been some of the greatest challenges to your fitness journey?
Oh, everyone's got challenges of like injuries and stuff like that. So mine, like I said earlier, was when I was 14, I was a gymnast, and that was like my whole trajectory to go to college
Yeah.
as this small town girl was get a gymnastics scholarship. And, there's no way I was going to be able to pay for college, and my parents weren't going to be able to pay for college. So I had to get this gymnastics scholarship. And then when I was 14, I found out that I have 8 degenerative discs in my spine. And so it was like extremely painful for me to be bending over backwards and tumbling and putting all this pressure on my spine. And so, I tried all the therapy and things, and I even had like epidural steroid injections to try to help the pain. But at the end of the day, it was just way too painful for me to continue on doing gymnastics. And so, like I said, I had gone to a special school for gymnastics. My whole life was only in that small gymnastics bubble. So it was probably the greatest challenge for me was to hear the doctors tell me that I'm not going to do sports again and that I shouldn't do sports again because it was going to just damage my spine too much to the point where I would need surgery. And that was my whole identity, was a gymnast as an athlete. And so they said no sports. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, now I can't go to college because I'm not going to get a scholarship. I can't do the things I love. And I will like probably didn't know it at the time, but was probably at like a borderline level of depression when I was 14, 15 in that year because I did what they said and I said, okay, they said no sports. So I quit gymnastics. If I quit gymnastics, I couldn't go to the school anymore for, special kids. Like, it wasn't going to be special anymore. So I went to an all-girls private school that my mom wanted me to go to because she thought if I wasn't going to get a gymnastics scholarship, maybe this private school could help me get an academic one. And I was a sophomore at the time. So, I only had about 3 more years to earn my way to a scholarship. And so took a year off of sports, became probably borderline depressed on some level because my whole identity was gone. And then I said, you know what? They said no sports, but like, is dancing a sport? And um, I rationed that it wasn't. And so I went back to dancing because, as a tiny tot, I was a dancer before I was a gymnast. And so I did some dancing and I found some enjoyment in that and I really loved it. But again, no scholarship to be had for that. And so one day, I don't even remember how I ended up at the track. But for me, I was like, is running really a sport? Because I'm just moving my legs just like I am walking. And so I went to the track practice, the tryouts, whatever, end of my sophomore year for junior, I believe. And there was a hurdle, and like in gymnastics, we jumped over like balance beams and all this stuff all the time. So they said, like, can you hurdle? And I was like, I don't know, probably. It looks like I can jump over that thing. And I uh, did 2 hurdles and I 3-stepped, which basically means you take 3 steps in between them.
Mhm.
And so that's like, in high school as a young athlete, like that's a sign of like, you can be a good hurdler. You just 3-stepped without trying. And so I decided I would keep running track and see if that hurt my back. And, there was a lot of pain. I'm not going to lie. I probably pushed it more than I should have, but I did find ways to manage it. And, I thought I looked at even as a teenager, I looked more into like core strengthening and thought if I strengthen my core, I can really keep like the spinal column tight and not risk those bulging discs moving and slipping and sliding more. And so that became my new avenue of sports was track and field because I thought like this is going to be the most limited motion on my spine and it's a sport and hey, I might be able to be good at it. Maybe I could even earn a scholarship. So that was probably, to answer your question, the greatest challenge for me was that 1.5 to 2 year period between, my world crashing down, saying I can't do gymnastics or even sports anymore, to finding what else can I do. So greatest challenge, but also maybe my greatest victory, because then I found that track and I did within those 2.5 years earn that scholarship that I thought was going to be unattainable for me.
And this is 110 that you got the scholarship with?
It was what?
The 110 hurdle? I don't
Oh,
remember.
no, no, no. So hurdles is how I got into track. And
Yeah.
I did, I actually ended up being a heptathlete, which is 7 events,
Hmm.
not in high school, but as I was recruited for track for my freshman year at Rice, I was a heptathlete because in high school, I won the state in the 100 hurdles and the 300 hurdles and high jump and then triple jump as well. And so I was pretty versatile. And I think that's really just from my background in gymnastics that I was able to kind of mold my way into all the different events that track had. But then as a freshman at Rice, I was heptathlete. I ended up just specializing in high jump after my freshman year. So sophomore year to senior year at Rice, I was just high jumper.
I got a big truth bomb for you. You ready?
Mhm.
There's a new emerging sport coming out called
Oh no.
Apex Fitness.
Oh
You heard of
no,
that?
I haven't. What is
It's
it?
I don't you don't follow many like SNC people, right? The
No,
coaches.
no,
Um, Tim Riley, that name doesn't ring a bell.
no. You are one of the biggest
Oh,
name droppers I've ever met, and I tell you, I don't know anybody's
yes.
name.
My wife Linda actually was just giving me grief for that. She's like, "Quit telling people, are you familiar?" Um, but he came out with this new emerging sport. It's a lot like what I used to do in the army, the ACFT. So I'm trying to find what the exact events are, but it's a 40-yard sprint, overhead med ball toss, broad jump for distance, full approach vertical jump for height off 2 feet, trap bar deadlift 1 minute AMRAP at 365 or 225 for women, bench press AMRAP at 115 for women, and a mile run for time. So if that
That,
does start to gain traction, maybe that'll be another reprieve from other stuff.
mhm.
Just another way to find some fun ways to occupy your time.
Just
So when
another.
you went to Rice, she might be older than you. Did you know Sarah Aguirre?
What's her last name?
Aguirre, Agara. She's a black lady, tall,
I don't
uh,
think so.
Oh, that's right.
Nigerian, and she
Oh yeah, yeah. She
Yeah,
worked
triple
out at the
jump.
triple
Met.
triple jump.
Sarah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She was before me, so I believe she graduated
yeah.
before me.
You're
I
younger
met
than
her.
she is. And how about the trainer that used to be at the Met, Ellie Quackenbush, who won some national titles in track? I mean,
I don't know her, but I know Fumi Jimo is also a Rice track and field athlete. She works out at the Met with her husband. Fumi Jimo actually went to the Olympics for long jump. So the Met
no.
has really good Rice athletes
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
I just walked up to Sarah
See
the
that
first
they
time.
had all these great athletes at the Met, and you took me over to Sigma. What's wrong with you?
We're working on it. Don't worry about it. But the first time I met Sarah was because she was one of the first people that I saw like ripping cleans at the Met,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, I'm going to talk to her, and that happened from there. Anybody that I saw doing anything like unconventional was like, I gotta strike up a convo. But
Oh,
Houston's a great place
when
for
I
that
met
stuff.
Sarah, we were in one of these fit games that they had at the Met,
It
and
wasn't the D10, it was something else.
yeah, and Sarah was competing against me, and one of it was the 20-yard shuttle. You know, we were doing it on the red carpet, and somehow you kept rotating because it was a team thing, you know, and I wound up against Sarah. And she looked at me and she said, before they started it, she said, you know, you're going to lose really badly. I went, really? And I said, why is that? She said, because you're white and you're short. And she did. She kicked my ass. It was,
That's funny.
Yeah, Rice is a different breed,
We
people.
well, I was going up against an elite track athlete, you know, and I'm not.
Hey, at least she was being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, we became really good friends. I mean, she still works out there and works out fairly hard. Yeah. I think she's an engineer now. She works in oil and gas and travels a bit, so I don't know that she competes in anything, but she keeps herself in good shape.
And I
Yeah.
guess D10 is no longer a big thing around there. It started to kind of fizzle out, right, Richard?
Well, the D10 was something that a guy by the name of Dave Maloney put together, and uh, it was 10 events. He called it the D10 Decathlon, and it was to raise money for um, pediatric cancer at MD Anderson and at Sloan Kettering. And in 2012, toward the end of 2012, they had given me an experimental drug, trying to cure mantle cell, which, I'm the longest surviving mantle cell patient on record, and they don't know why. Um,
Really
but,
incredible.
you know, um, so at the time I came down with neuropathy in my lower extremities and in my arms to some extent, but to the point where they would put the little electrodes in, the neurologist did in the leg, and that make your feet kick out and stuff like that. And I couldn't feel anything, and they told me I would never walk again correctly, and maybe with 2 or 3 years of extensive physical therapy, I might spend the rest of my life with a cane. And then 2017, I completed my first D10 decathlon and then ran another one in 2019. So didn't
Wow.
win, but I was competing against much younger people.
But
They didn't have weight or age divisions. It was like
it's not the
everything.
same events as the decathlon. Is what I was gonna ask was D10's got like pull-ups and like AMRAP bench and stuff like that,
Well,
right?
it was more like the combine
It
than
was like a
the actual
combine version of a
decathlon.
decathlon. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have anybody throwing javelins and stuff like that. That
Yeah.
was
It's still incredible to go again from being told you're not going to be able to do anything like walk to, competing in a D10. So who's to say we can't do these things? I can't
that's
do
where
sports anymore.
yeah,
You can't walk anymore, but here we are, both doing them.
that's where we open the conversation. There's a certain type of individual, and we are a rare breed, but the mind doesn't allow what other people tell us to stop us from going forward in what we want to do. And
It also kind of makes you think like how much of the fact that these doctors gave you absolutes of no more sports for the rest of your life and all this stuff is really just bullshit, right?
I agree.
Um,
well, you got to remember that in the medical field, the advice that doctors give is for the general population.
Mhm.
And the general population makes up 99% of the patients that come in. So if you happen to be in that 1%, it really doesn't fit for you.
yeah,
The
but
sad
I
part,
mean, what you're mostly talking about is like a mental aspect, like, oh yes, you may have fought more than the average person, but at the same time, like they're giving you a very sharp boundary and limit on something that could very clearly be overcome if
yeah,
more people had put
but you miss
the
the whole
effort in.
thing. That's why I sit down and I argue with you when 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 you're dealing with people that have that strong mental attitude about where they want to take their life. The only thing that when somebody tells me I can't do something, I work 10 times as hard to do that because that's part of that's the competition. You tell me I can't, yes, I can. So,
Richard, you'd like this story. When I was a freshman at Rice, my freshman year high jumping was awful, like worse than I was in high school. So I was angry, I was frustrated. My head coach was more of a gentle type. He might have been a Sawyer, more of a let's take it easy. It's okay. It's just a bad season. And I got mad at him and I was like, no, you're like, we need to be training. You're wrong. And he was faking it, but he got in my face. He's like, "You want me to yell at you? Is that going to make you better?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. It will make me better because if you yell at me, I know you're disappointed in me, and I know that I'm going to have to work harder to improve, to make you proud of me, and to help me be proud of myself."
so
So,
that's your trick, Sawyer, and you take money for it. Wow.
Yep. And it is funny. There have been, I guess, different seasons of life uh, in the personal sense. I remember telling one of my drill sergeants when I did my monthly PT test, I'd say, when I come around the last lap, I need you to be really angry and yell at me. Now I've kind of changed since then. I've mellowed out a lot more, but uh, this next block is going to be a good combination of the two for you.
For me, are you
For
talking
you.
to me? Yes.
Yes.
By the way, my whole journey with Sawyer started at the Met, he came up to me and wanted me to get involved in weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting, and I'm going,
Bell got a similar spiel.
right. And I'm not throwing big weights over the top of my head at my age. It didn't seem like something prudent. But I was lifting a lot of weight, and I had read an article about somebody who had set a world record in some offshoot powerlifting group called Revelation or something. And the record was 303 pounds. I've come now, actually joining something like the IPF and finding out that that isn't even close to what the world record is. But so be it. I said, I'm going to be 80 soon. I want to go out and break this guy's world record. Teach me how to deadlift, because I had only used a trap bar. I didn't know how to deadlift. And Sawyer, I could tell in the beginning. I mean, he nursed me through it, but he looked at me and he said, "Boy, your form is like absolutely terrible. You can't deadlift that way." But he's brought me through it and taught me how to do it. Now, the funny part is in reading through the IPF rules, remember I said maybe we'll just go to Corpus Christi because that event's coming up right after this last one I did, and we'll go break that stupid world record and get the thing. If you compete in any other organization, in an IPF sanctioned organization, you can't compete in nationals for a year.
Oh,
You're
wow.
suspended for a year. So I'm glad I didn't do that. And and going from that, I never thought of doing all three lifts. I just wanted to go out and prove a point, and be able to lift this deadlift. And in order to compete in the IPF, you have to be a power lifter, you have to do all three disciplines. So you have to squat, bench press, and deadlift. And I couldn't squat because I couldn't get my arms behind my head to hold the bar. Because from all the time I spent in the hospital, I had lost a lot of that flexibility.
Mhm.
And Sawyer now has me to where I'm putting the bar like mid back and doing squats just fine. So that's a little
Boy.
kudos for him.
It's all about the form.
It was the impossible dream, and he got me there. So
Which, speaking of which, would have been some of the most rewarding aspects of your journey, Bill?
Um, Obviously getting the scholarship to Rice that I didn't think I was going to get.
Golden
To
ticket.
scholarship anywhere. I didn't think I was going to go to college, actually. Like in my head, being from a poor town, I was like, if I can't pay for it, I can't do it. I didn't really understand the whole student loans and all that, but um, that was definitely one of my greatest accomplishments. And then obviously going to nationals as a Division I high jumper as well, um, really helped me work through my imposter syndrome, which I feel like I have for a lot of things. So growing up, I being from that small town, I've always thought people are better than me at everything that I do. Like I'm not as smart as all these Rice kids. But then I was, and I'm not as great as the athletes that go to Division I scholarships. I think they made a mistake, but then I was because I made it to nationals. So I think to me that's part of my greatest accomplishment in sport
yeah,
is
and
trying, yeah,
graduating summa cum laude is
yeah,
also one of those. You got to bring that one up.
right. That one's not in greatest accomplishment in sport, but it is definitely one of my proudest achievements is, keeping up with my academics as well as my athletics.
Now you're starting your family and building your empire.
Starting my family of cats.
Yes.
I, I will, yes, me and Sean will be getting married in 13 days. We have our baby cat, Miko. We got her last year. Well, she kind of just ran out of a bush, and that's how we got this cat. So that's our family for now. And that's our planned family for a little while. So,
Other hidden talent about Belle Richard is she is a very talented interior decorator, and
no.
one of the many props around her house is little cat steps and beds and domes and stuff like that. You got to show it
Oh,
around. Oh, are you in your office?
this is my
Yeah.
cat
Yeah,
and her
yeah.
towel.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Is it in there?
She's up there.
Oh,
Say
yeah.
hello.
That's funny.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah. And then you've got in that room, there's like it's not a reformer, is it? It's
Now I have a
like
dumb
wooden stuff.
this
Oh no,
thing.
no, it's that, yeah.
Yeah. It's my
That's
office and my workout room
yeah,
and Miko's perch. There she is.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's fabulous.
yeah.
Very artsy and creative.
Well, I just had to have a home for my child up there so she can sit and hang out with us.
What have been your greatest achievements out of fitness? That was the next question I was gonna have. So you got summa cum laude. Obviously, you got your new upcoming hubby.
Upcoming hubby. He's funny. He said that is my greatest achievement. He
Yeah.
said my greatest achievement in sports is that a few years ago I put on a race. I did not put on a race, but he said I put on a race with three guys and me.
Okay.
We went on a run together through the woods. Sean just happened to finish first. And so now he won being my husband. So
Good.
that's not how it went. I was just on a run with some friends, but it did spark my interest in Sean.
You
And
guys
then
got to talking,
what'd you say? Yeah,
and you
then
got to talking from there.
we got
Yeah.
to talking from there. But
Is he
of
in the
course,
medical field?
yeah, he's a physician assistant. So we actually met in the ICU during COVID times. So his first job as a PA was the my same first job as a nurse, and we worked on the same unit together for about 3 or 4 months, and then COVID happened, and we ended up having the same COVID patients, and this was at a time when we had no idea what was to come from COVID. So they told you, like, we've been exposed to these ICU COVID patients, so we should not go expose ourselves to the public. We shouldn't hang out with anyone else because we could transmit it to them. But since we were taking care of the same patients, we're like, well, we've already been exposed, so we can hang out together. And so we hung out together during COVID, and then we've been together ever since.
That's most of the doctors I know, and I've become familiar with a lot of them, not because I wanted to, but I have and become friendly with them over the years. And um, the ones that seem to have the happiest lives have married into the same profession because the hours are so goofy, and
Yeah,
that's the only place they each one of them understands that.
right.
And being at that level, they're both fairly intelligent. So, you don't have,
And,
some pretty boy you found, and all of a sudden you find out he's,
right. And it was funny
caveman.
because
Yeah.
at the time there was, a little bit of a power difference, right? Because physician assistant is technically like higher in status than a nurse. And so Sean, he told me this later, but he said that he would not have dated me as a nurse because he didn't want to have that power difference in a relationship at work. He felt it was inappropriate. But luckily, I had gotten into nurse anesthesia school at that time. So I only worked 1 month in the COVID ICU before I quit that job and went to school full time. And so then we were able to date. So that also transitions back into Sawyer's question of my greatest accomplishments. Yes, my future hubby, Sean, is a great accomplishment, but I'm also very proud of myself for completing nurse anesthesia school and earning a doctorate in nurse anesthesia.
Are you doing
Fabulous.
full time right now?
Yes, I work full time for Baylor College of Medicine. I am the co-chief anesthetist for our service as well as a clinical coordinator. So I also help coordinate the clinicals for students who are completing their clinicals at Baylor College of Medicine program as well as the UT Health program in Houston. So
Where is this at? Is this at MD Anderson, is that?
Baylor St. Luke's.
Pardon me?
It's at Baylor St. Luke's, which is
Oh,
right across
Baylor.
the street.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right across the street from MD
Yeah,
Anderson.
yeah.
So I'm technically an assistant professor at Baylor College of Medicine now, and I teach clinically in the operating room when students come.
It's quite the accomplishment.
Thank you. I'm very proud of that. especially because when I was younger, I had a struggle between if I wanted to be a teacher or if I wanted to be a trauma surgeon. And this kind of, melds all of those worlds together of having a great life work balance, being able to teach in some capacity, as well as seeing the operating room, but not actually operating.
Who who is it that's at MD Anderson also that's a research scientist? That's
Oh,
just the worlds.
there's tons of those.
Huh?
So there's tons of people at MD
Oh,
Anderson.
Claudia Romero?
Claudia, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She's at Worlds in Cape Town, South Africa right now for powerlifting.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a oh, Sigma.
She's 112 pounds and moves the world. She lifts more than I do.
I love I love women like that because I'm also a petite person and I like to see these smaller people lifting all this weight,
We
giving me
saw a
hope.
lot of that last night. Because the thing that he was at was a very big competition. He was in the open division, but the pro division came in the evening. And that's when you see everybody from around the world lifting insane amounts of weight, like Austin Perkins, Nonson Chinya, all those like big time powerlifters. And the women, half of them were probably about your size, lifting more than I can,
That's
you
incredible.
know, like maybe they'll have like bigger thighs or bigger glutes, but other than that, like it's all pretty much the same.
Right. You never know
So,
the power behind a little person.
yep.
Don't
And
count them out.
the whole mass moves mass thing, obviously, like it is true to some degree, but it doesn't have to be like as absolute as a lot of people think it does.
Right. I think that's one of my pride and joys in Hyrox too is that I can push the sled pretty well
Yeah.
compared to some of these other women that are a lot larger muscularly than I am.
And
So
pro is 5 plates of the 55.
yeah, it's 336 pounds.
I don't remember what the conversion is.
It's about 5 plates
Okay.
on, yeah.
That's crazy. I've got the relay coming in November,
Oh
and I've
yeah.
got the sled push and the farmers. So we'll see if I get anywhere near your time on the relay.
Relay one. Well, yeah, my farmers were quite disappointing in the last competition, so you'll definitely beat me there.
Did you have
But
the 26s?
24s.
The kilo? Okay. Yeah, the 52 pound.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 24 kilos.
Yeah, that's a doozy. We'll see if I survive
You
anywhere
should get
close.
Richard to do a partner Hyrox with you.
With
That's what
me, that would
see.
be fun.
I want to see you too, because they average your age for
Yeah.
podium.
Oh,
So
so we'd get gold.
yeah, so you definitely
Yeah.
win.
So if that were the case, yeah, let's really put his pacemaker through the works and see if it's if it does any good.
You're
He used to
talking
do a
about
lot of
me?
pickleball.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
No, I'll tell you the thing that was left over from the neuropathy, even though I walk, I can do some short runs, but my legs tend to tie up really quick. I used to do marathons, but now my legs will, if I get halfway through a quarter at speed, I'll cramp out in both legs.
All
Uh,
right, so maybe not. Let's
And
skip.
here's the other thing. Honestly, if even if we did combine our ages, the people in their 60s are gonna kick our asses. Like, do you know? Okay, I'm gonna do the thing again.
No, no, I don't know that.
There's this guy Sean Wade,
are
who's
you just trying to throw the gauntlet down now to force me to overcome?
yeah. I'm gonna keep doing this whole like negging thing until you catch on. But there's this guy Sean Wade who goes to Sigma, and he's originally from New Zealand, I think. But he's another pro high rocker. He's got I think records set for a handful of different high rocks events for his age group because it's the 60 to 65 I think is what he did. This is all like from memory, so it might all be the details might all be wrong, but there's no way we'd win that.
Never say no word. Wait, when I was living on Hilton Head, I was playing quite a bit of tennis before I was transported against my will to Texas with MD Anderson. Uh, but they had a fun deal they put together on the island called the Billy Bob Tournament. And what they did is they would take some of the best pros and put them out there, but you could use a pro on your team if you and then combine your ages, and get into a better division. But you couldn't get past the open division, but you would be like at the top bracket of you know, the the lowest ring on that, in terms of the additional points. Well, anyway, we wound up playing the Texas State champions in doubles, and I was at the time 67, and my partner was 30. And we took them to 3 sets. We just barely lost in the thing. And we were supposed to go down, quick. But so sorry, you know me better than that.
Let's do it.
The only thing that bothers me is with what I'm trying to accomplish this year. I don't think doing a lot of um, cardio work is going to help, in terms of the amount of
I can
pain.
discourage the cardio work on top of the intense powerlifting all I want, but what you do is something different usually. So
Yeah.
you know my stance. Um, here's a world guy you do know, Colin.
Oh, I do know Colin.
How do you know him?
I met Colin, I think it was somewhere in that like Spartan era. I was going to this obstacle course racing gym every once in a while, and I don't remember if
It's
he just
here?
showed. It was. It's
Yeah.
not open anymore. They
Okay.
had to close down. It was off of it's called 290 Fitness. And I don't remember if he was there training or they put on an event, the Grit Games. And I don't remember if he was at the Grit Games or if he was just at the gym training for Spartan or something. So I met
Okay.
him somewhere in that era. Um, and then he just ended up turning up at like all these things that I was doing as well, like the Hyrox. And then he ends up owning a gym, like 3 blocks from my house. So small world.
I guess it is that close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grit games. I've never heard of that before. Now you get to bully me.
I'll bully you. The Grit Games is it's a event put on by Grit Fitness, I believe is the name of the gym. And I've only done one of them, but I
My
think it's
God.
an annual thing. What, did you read it?
It's
Oh,
the dead hang.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
disgusting.
There's a gym called Grit Fitness, and they put on the Grit Games. I think it's annually,
Okay.
um, but it's fun. It's just another little
This looks
multi
sick.
thing. Yeah.
The thing that I've gotten really into is this thing called Grid League. It's was originally in Florida, but it's like if what all the stuff that people think is outlandish about CrossFit, they cherry pick those things and have made it into one like big competition. So let me see. Like there's like
I can
aerials
do
for time.
that. I
Can you
love aerials.
can you still
Yeah.
do it?
Yes, that's my one party
And
trick.
please, for
Like
the love of so here, there's also Olympic lifts and like group Olympic lifts.
that's funny.
And then there's because the three things are you have to be either a strength, a gymnastics, or I think like a specialty one.
Hmm.
So this is like specifically a person who's like specialized in Olympic lifting or like strength.
Hmm.
And then this is yeah, burpee backflips.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can you still do some good back tucks?
So my back tucks need work. It's funny, you mentioned the JCC
Yeah.
a few months ago, and I had never heard of it. So I went to the JCC and I was like, let me see if I can still do a backflip.
Went
I
to the
can still
adult tumbling class?
I did the open gym because I was too
Okay.
embarrassed
I
to
totally
do.
forgot that I
Yeah.
even knew about that. But yeah.
So I just went to open gym and I was like, let me see if I can still do backflip because it's been a while. I can still do it, but it's questionable on the
Yeah.
land. So, but aerials, I got the aerials all day. But yeah,
And it's
back,
just because you can kind of get that front foot out in front of you easier, right?
yeah.
So you feel a little bit more secure in like throwing
I
that
used,
over.
I used to do aerials on the balance beam. So you
Oh, that's
had to have
crazy.
perfect aerials in order to land on the 4-inch beam. So aerial is like my one thing. I do it at least annually to make sure I still can. Yeah, rings are insane.
Are you still good at rings?
Women don't do rings. Rings
Oh,
are a male event.
Belle does.
I do not.
They got here's let me see if I can find what it was because there's like bar compound stuff.
Yeah, that's a CrossFit
Did
thing.
you ever do CrossFit?
I did not. I only dated a CrossFit coach briefly,
Oh,
and
I'm
that,
sorry.
yeah, it's
There's
okay.
handstand push-ups as an event too.
Wow,
So
that's a wild event.
yeah. So all right, go ahead and get signed up. You can do that. I'll do Hyrox.
Richard can do the powerlifting part. I'll
Yep.
do the gymnastics part. You guys can do the partner carry.
Yeah, I'll do as much as I can for support, but you guys got most of the events. I'll leave it to the two of you. So, given that you are all of the things that you are, how do you balance it all?
I think that I would go crazy if I didn't have both of them. I think
Yeah,
that, fitness and then your work life and all that stuff, they don't have to be exclusive. Like you can do all of it together. And for me, I've always done all of it together, so I just have to. The sports, the fitness, the exercise, that keeps me mentally sane. That's my release after a long day. It's also my cup of coffee in the morning is to wake up and get a workout in before I go to work. So I feel like if I didn't have those things, I wouldn't have so much motivation and like energy at work. And then work for me is enjoyable because, it's mentally stimulating and I'm interested in the human body and how it works. So for me, it's an easy balance because I do what I love. I enjoy it. So um I think for people who don't already have a balance, it's hard for me to tell them how to balance because it's just been part of my life. But my recommendation for someone who's just getting into fitness would be make a routine out of it. Set up a routine, and the more times you do a routine, that's when it's going to become a habit. So for me, as a little girl, I set out my leotard for gymnastics the next morning every night so that in the morning I didn't have to dig through my drawer. Now, as a almost 32-year-old adult, I set out my workout outfit every night before I go to bed so that in the morning there's no excuse of time or anything like that. Just throw on the outfit, it's already picked out, and now go get to work. So build that routine, do the routine enough times, it's going to become a habit, and that's how you balance it all.
and you would be okay with, for the sake of having the husband and having the good career, even getting like a place below what somebody else that didn't have that would, for the sake of the full meaning, the meaningfulness of having everything that you want to have.
Oh, absolutely. You're saying like, should I become a professional athlete and quit my job and,
Yeah.
get first at Hyrox all the time? Never. I
I
would
mean,
never, I would never give up what I have. I think, you know, there's some people that say, I know I just said this, do what you love, and then it won't be work. But at the end of the day, like if your job is actually to be an athlete, if I didn't have, and I'm not saying that being an athlete's not an actual job, but if I didn't have a different job in my life, I would just train, train, train all day. I'd be Richard, but then I'd be injured. So then, how can you place first all the time if you're just gonna train, train, train and be injured? So I think no, I don't think I would ever quit
I,
what I love.
I, by the way, do have another job besides working out.
he's a real
Right.
estate mogul.
Oh yeah? Okay. We need to, I already have your number now, so now we'll reach out to you. Sean's trying to, get a couple houses or something.
I mean, as long as I stay coach, I can get away with it. I got to check out here for 1 second. I've got a massage therapist coming over right now. So,
Oh, she's making a house call.
yeah.
Oh, that's
This is
funny.
the same trainer that does the agility and balance stuff.
Oh, nice.
He was
That's
telling
awesome.
me he was telling me he was going to have to log off early, but
Okay.
he made it work. We're coming toward the
Um,
end, just so you know.
Okay.
If
Oh,
Stephanie's
Richard.
there right now, not even muting or anything. Wow,
I know. You
that's so
can probably
Richard.
mute him as the host.
Oh, okay.
I think you can.
Unless you wanted to say something. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So you already gave the advice of setting a routine, doing the, oh, I think he's coming back. Hold on.
Yeah.
can I
You
unmute
can,
him now?
yeah.
It said ask to unmute. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Richard. Press the microphone icon. There you
There you
go.
go.
You
Yeah.
muted me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Stephanie there? She want to make an appearance?
Well, she had to run back to the car. She forgot something. So
Okay.
otherwise, I'd bring her in and you could all
Shout,
meet.
shout out to Stephanie Argeo. Is that her last name? What?
Stephanie Arquelo.
Aguela. Okay, Aguela.
But
Okay.
that's not the name she uses. She uses her married name.
Fairies.
Ferris. Yeah.
Fairies, yeah. Okay. Well, yes. If you need massages done, check her out.
Stephanie is an exceptional massage therapist, and she's also an incredible trainer. Um, but not powerlifting. Although she does lift a lot of weight for a little girl. She's
She
yeah,
does. She's the only person I've ever seen do box pistol squats. So she jumps up onto the box and lands into the little
Pistol.
pistol position,
That's
which is
awesome.
crazy to see. But so you already,
you're talking to a gymnast. Yeah, I mean that's
yeah,
nothing.
Ex-gymnast, old gymnast.
gymnast.
Ex-gymnast, yeah.
We already got the advice of set the routine, set your stuff out, build that habit from that routine. Any other advice you'd want to give to beginner level people or anybody who's in the healthcare profession, any fiancés out there who are looking to get into the fitness space or to start that journey?
Something that I started with when I was probably like 6 years old is something my very first real coach told me, and now I try to tell everyone. And it goes along with a lot of what Richard said today, um, is the idea of I can't. So I had a coach who came in and took over a group of gymnasts who we were all really bad. We were like, we just did some flips and some rolls, but there was no competitive level about us. But he came in and he said, what can you do this? Can you do this? And we are like, no, I can't do a kip, I can't do a back walkover, I can't do an aerial. And he said, take these pieces of paper, write down everything you can't do. So I wrote down, I can't do a kip, I can't do a back walkover, can't do a back handspring, can't do whatever. And then he had us go outside with him. We dug a hole. We made a tombstone that said, rest in peace, I can't. And then he had us read off everything we can't do in gymnastics and throw it in the hole, crumble it up, throw it in the hole, and we lit it on fire and we burned down everything we can't do. Because he said, there's nothing you can't do. You maybe can't do it right now, but you can do it and you will do it in the future. And that's something as a tiny little girl has stuck with me my whole life. And as advice to anyone who's getting into sport now, take everything that you can't do and change your mindset on it because you maybe can't do it right now, but you can do it. And if you work towards it, you will do it in the future. There are no limits.
Is that what really ignited that fire in you?
Yeah,
That one day?
that one day, that one person, his name's Jason Powell, and he was my very first gymnastics coach, and he really did change my life. He's what lit the fire of determination so that I know that there's nothing I can't do in this world.
Heck yeah.
Definitely.
That
Come over here for a second. Say hello to Sawyer
We're gonna get a
and
guest appearance.
Bill. This is Steph.
Hi.
Hi, I
How's it
know
going?
you.
Yeah.
Belle is a doctor, but she's also a world champion Hyroxer.
Nice.
Uh,
I've seen you at the Met.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I've also seen you.
you're probably a lot sweatier when you see her.
Yeah, I'm a lot sweatier and,
Yeah.
hair up in a mess.
But if you need a great sports massage, she's the best.
Well,
I mean,
thank
the best. Without her, I couldn't train with Sawyer.
We work together really well. Great job on helping him get to where he is, Stephanie. I couldn't have
Yes.
done it without you.
Thanks. You too.
All right, I'm gonna let you guys finish up, and
All
Okay.
right. Nice to see you,
it's
Rich.
so nice meeting you. You know, I've probably seen you, but
Yes, it was nice
we've
talking
never
to
met,
you
so
officially.
it's good.
Enjoy your massage.
Yes, and good luck with whatever you're doing in Hyrox. You're at a much higher level than I am, so
Oh, no, no, no. I'm not going to be a world champion like you.
I don't know about that.
All
All right,
right, Richard. Have a good evening.
okay, I'm just gonna shut down. Will
Sure
that
thing.
affect anything? No.
No,
No.
out of here. All right, awesome. We were just wrapping up. Any parting words? Anything else you want to talk about or discuss?
No, I think my biggest parting words are just that advice on, burn your I can'ts because you can do it. Everyone can do what I do. Everyone can do the hardest fitness things or the hardest, medical track. They can do it. It's just a matter of, hard work and determination and time. Be patient.
Patience. Absolutely. All right. Thanks so much for coming on. It was great
Yeah.
talking to you.
Thanks for having me, Sawyer. Have a good
Absolutely.
evening.
All right. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye bye.